not that you're most likely to say something, because that's obviously me, but I can't get fired for what I say. So
Yeah,
uh, we don't want you to lose your job. Uh,
yeah, it suck, man.
all right. I have no idea what number this is. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Oh, are
Oh,
we
we lost count
on
after like 5. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I gotta get in
Um,
there and get it.
there's only 2 episodes up right now. The next one up should be up pretty soon. I gotta edit them, but it's there. All I gotta do is go through and do it. But they came out with a new tool called Podcast Connect,
Hmm.
which is great.
Yeah.
So I went through and deleted
Is he
all of our
breaking up for you?
what?
Is he breaking up for you, Vince?
Yeah, Matt, your connection seems like it's dial-up because it's a little bit stuttered and chunky.
Uh,
Maybe we
yeah, there's
should
nothing I
kill
can
the
do about it,
video.
guys.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna.
It's just delayed. It's not like it's really out of sync.
All right, well, I turned off the video. See if that helps a little bit. I'm gonna close
Yeah,
some of
let's see mine
these
off.
tabs.
Um,
Um,
Fine.
Okay.
is it like really
There we-
bad?
No, now it's fine, but
No.
before you were breaking up like crazy.
All right, give me just a second. I'm gonna close some of this stuff then. Uh, oh, I hate Windows.
No, man, I hated Chrome. My university I work in, they mandate using Gmail as their kind of thing. So anytime I tried to connect to the actual Hangout, it always asked me to log in for Ryerson, and it would never let me log in with my personal address. So
Oh, that sucks. All right, I got some of this stuff closed. I can close Outlook. I don't need Outlook. I live in Outlook now, guys. Ever since I went to, that's obviously what we use for work. But now that I have a Windows computer at home,
hmm
I just live in Outlook. I can, I even use Outlook on the phone and on the iPad.
hmm
It's just the only app I use anymore.
Not that bad.
All right. I sound like I live in the 90s. Yeah. So I'm using Outlook. Outlook's supposed to be the old man's tool.
If it ain't broke,
All right, let's get started. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Untitled Show. I'm your host this week, Matthew Weber. We got the boys back together. The boys are back in town. All 3 of us are here for the first time since, in like, I don't know, ages. I was sick and working, and Ricky's selling a house and probably his baby, and Vince is busy expelling and deporting people.
hey, no, wrong. It's impossible to say that.
Those rumors are wildly exaggerated.
Yes.
Rumors of his demise. Anyways, this is the Untitled Show. Every week we review something. Most often it's a movie. Sometimes we do comics. Ricky talks us into a TV show every once in a while. I would love it if we could do books, but Ricky doesn't know how to read. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, that's probably me. Anyways, so this week we did the movie of the week was The Princess Bride, directed by Rob Reiner, and starring a whole bunch of nobodies, really.
Oh my
Billy
god,
Crystal,
are
the
you
nobody.
for real?
Well, yeah, but using it for what, 5 minutes maybe? And
Andy
he's
Patinkin is a nobody.
Dude.
okay. All right, so I've heard of his name before, and all right. So B actors.
Okay, you're
is what I'm
just a
saying.
little baby, that's why you don't know.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
were
yeah.
born that
There
man.
we go.
All right, so Carrie,
Fred Savage, Andre Giant, oh my god.
how do you say Carrie? What's his name? The guy who played Wesley.
Carrie Elwes? I never
Elwes?
know.
All right,
Yeah.
so the only movie I knew him from was Twister.
No, Saw.
I've never seen. I've seen like I don't know half a movie of Saw.
Oh. Those
I,
are
ha- I hate horror movies. Most of them are just idiotic. I can't stand them. I don't know. And maybe just Alfred Hitchcock and the Birds turned me off from all horror from ever. Anyways, The Princess Bride. This was Vince's movie, so he's going to take us through what this movie is about. If you haven't seen it, it was 1987, so most people have seen it.
Okay. So it's a classic movie. I mean, I think if you talk to most people, they would say that this is among one of their top movie choices. It's a classic. Listen, I'm the last person to go, let's go do this artsy, fartsy, romantic movie stuff, but it's one of those movies that sticks with you. It's a really good, warming story. It's kid-friendly, and at the same time, it's like one of those adult but kid-friendly movies. Before Pixar movies came out, this is one of those movies where it's like there's grown-up jokes and then there's like kid jokes, right? And it's kind of fun. It's an endearing story about a guy and a girl. You know, a farm boy meets this girl he loves, and you know, because he's just a stable hand, he really can't profess his love, and then finally he does, and of course they're separated. Um, you know, by apparently he gets taken away and gets killed apparently by the Dread Pirates Roberts, and you know, she inevitably just falls into the hands of this kind of crooked king who wants to marry her, and at the end of the day has a conspiracy to try to create this this war between one Florin and another country. I can't remember what the other country is, but it's just he's a bad guy, right? But that's just like the overarching plot. And the issue is that in the interest of you know, kidnap these three bandits, basically one's a super smart one, one's a super skilled one, and one's Andre the Giant, super strong. They try to kidnap the princess bride in this case, so that they can cause the civil war. And as the story follows, this Dread Pirate Roberts character comes in and tries to swoop in, and it turns out that not only does he best the three people, but he ends up proving to be Wesley, and there's a long convoluted story about that. And without giving away all too much, but I know it's a spoilery thing anyways, he ends up saving the day, and there's a whole bunch of redemption storylines going through this plot. I think many of you guys have seen memes, particularly the, you know, inconceivable. I don't think you know what that means. I don't think you use that word.
Yeah,
like
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah, or hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You know, you killed my father. Prepare to die. Like, these are big lines that even like if you didn't watch this movie, you'd know. It has a lot of good actors in their early days. Like I think Robin Penn Wright or Robin Wright, I guess at that point in time. This is like her first movie, I think.
Yeah, she's probably the best known now because she's in House of Cards, and she was in
But I mean, let's be clear here. Like, everyone knows Billy Crystal. Like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah, but all right. So hold on a second. Billy Crystal was in this movie, but he didn't look like Billy Crystal. Okay.
He was Billy Crystal, except like.
Dude.
I mean, he sounded like Billy Crystal, but he didn't look like Billy Crystal. And even if that wasn't the point, he was in it for like 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, but okay, just listen. At the end of the day, there's a huge ensemble cast.
It was a cameo. He wasn't a star.
No, it wasn't. But let me be clear here. It was a big ensemble cast. Like, I mean, yes, there was the you know, the main Dread Pirate Roberts you know, and Princess Bride character. But I think if you look at the big story, the reason why it's so endearing is not just simply because it's a fairy tale, right? And I mean, yeah, it's a fun fairy tale. There's got a big and I think the grandfather says it best, and then I'm going to get to that in a second. But it's basically presented as a narration by a grandfather reading it to a grandson who's reluctant to kind of spend the day sick in bed with, you know, his grandfather. And his grandfather just dusts off this old book, and it's really touching. I mean, I could picture any kid, even today, even like, you know, mind you, it's a Nintendo entertainment system, but, you know, when the kid's like playing that crappy baseball game, and he's like, screw off, Grandpa, I'm playing, you know, I'm sick and I'm in bed, I'm going to play video games. And, you know, the grandfather says, well, I got this book, reads it, and the kid's captivated, and at the end of the, you know, it's really touching. And I mean, Matt, you won't know this because you have no kids and no heart, but, you know, once you have
True.
It's like
So true.
I'll tell you right now, it's going to happen to you. There's going to be a point when your kid doesn't want to spend time with you, okay? I'm not sure if that's happened yet, but there's going to be a time when the kid doesn't want to spend time with you. And that, you know, even when I was a kid, and I didn't have kids yet, but I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because, you know, the kid actually wants to spend time with the grandparents, or in this case, or like a parent, right? And it's through the narrative of that, you know, epic fairy tale that, you know, it joins the son. Like the grandson eventually warms his way up to the grandfather through the story. And I mean, the story's not just romance because, you know, there's this kind of underwriting subplot where the grandson's like, look, man, is it gonna get into this mushy, kissy, like, you know, romantic garbage? And then no, because they've got the sword fights, they've got you know, games of skill, they've got betrayal, they've got deception. And you know what? It's very simplistic, but I think they do a really good job of it for a kid. And from a grown-up standpoint, they're throwing a lot of threads. Like I'm still surprised at just how absolutely short that movie is. It's like an hour and a half long, right? And they pack all this stuff together, and I got to give them credit. It's a very successful movie. I'm surprised that it didn't make more money when it first came out, because I remember watching it like I think 10 years after it came out. It was just ridiculous how late I watched it. But it's one of those movies that really sticks with you. And I'm curious to you guys. Like you guys might not have seen it in theaters because you guys are young, but it's
Yeah, I
you've probably
was
seen it
two
on
when it
TV.
came out. Two. I was two.
Yeah, you've probably seen the movie though. You've probably seen the movie though on like TV special or something. But I'm just curious, like now that you guys have had to watch it, like is it one of those like classic endearing movies?
All right, so I'll go first. I always defer to you guys because I'm hosting, but I'm gonna go first this time. This is one of those movies that I had actually seen before, but had forgotten that I watched it. And I didn't actually remember that I watched it until I saw the end credits, because I remember the only thing in this movie that I actually remember seeing is the end credits. Just I don't know why the end credits stuck with me, but I did. It was in school. I was probably like 10 or 11 years old, and probably hated the movie because it was a romance movie. At 10 or 11, you think girls are icky and all that stuff. So I didn't remember. So I went through and watched this movie. I have to tell you, the first, 15, 20 minutes or so, I was about ready to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very, very slow going. But by the time they get to the, the Cliff of Insanity or something, they start having a few lines, you know what I mean? And, that when they get to the top of that, that's when Indigo Montoya says to, he says the whole inconceivable, that's not what you think it is, or whatever. So they start having some lines, and the plot starts picking up from that point on. And from that point on, it's actually a fairly decent movie. I don't care for it that much. I'd watch it again if it was like on TV and there was nothing else. But it's one of those movies that's I don't know, it was just kind of meh for me. But not. All right, so let me put it this way: it's one of those movies that I liked enough to watch it all the way through once I got past the boring beginning. But I'm not necessarily. I don't know how to put this. I can't find anything that's wrong with it, but there's not enough there for me to be a cheerleader for it either, if you know what I mean. And all right, so I guess that because I went into it expecting it to be Mel Brooks funny, and it's not really. It's one of those movies where you always hear people quoting and stuff, because there's always all these lines and stuff like that. And usually the movies that you can quote a lot are fairly funny. And this one just has a few, ha-ha moments, and it's not really all that funny. It's a romance story, and that's just okay for me. Anyways, I would give it out of 5. I would give it a 2.5.
Ooh.
Right in the middle. All right, Ricky.
Okay, so I watched this show, and I think probably because I'm not a baby like Matt here, because it came out in '87. I didn't see it in theaters, like Vince said. I just watched it now on Netflix. But for me, because I'm old enough to, I'm not even old enough.
You should have just stopped at old. I'm old.
But not even old, because Mandy Patinkin, he's I remember him from Criminal Minds.
Yeah, he's on TV now. That's what he does. Is he's on TV now.
Yeah, but
guys are pretty much.
Andre the Giant, that's just a wrestling icon. You're talking about.
Guy's been dead for 23 years.
Okay, so what there are other icons.
When he died, I was 8. Okay, that's why I don't know him.
Okay. Fred Savage, that's from Wonder Years. Like I said, you're a baby, so that's why you don't know.
Yeah. I got that.
Then you
big baby.
Bill Crystal, who is, So for me, it's just like seeing those people. It's interesting. Then within our culture, the movie permeates all sorts of things. You talk about Dread Pirate Roberts. Anyone who knows Silk Road knows that's the pseudonym that the creator went by. Mm-hmm. So I liked it. I liked it because it was a romantic movie, but it was also action-packed. Like you guys said, they had the sword fight. It was definitely a movie I would watch. I would classify it as one of those classics. In it to me, it was sort of harkens back to a time when movies were more, they weren't as fast paced, as action packed. Like movies today are very, very different. So maybe it's just because it's more in my timeline. I don't know, but I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. And there's some pretty cool things because after I watched it, I looked up some stuff. Like, for instance, there was tons of times that famous people were trying to get this movie made from the book. Like, you're talking about Robert Redford, and at one time Arnold Schwarzenegger was supposed to play the part that Andre the Giant did.
Wow.
Yeah, so like there's just a whole bunch of really cool facts about it. But yeah, I loved it. I would definitely watch it again.
So the thing is about that one fact, like I mean, you can go into a lot of these characters and just go like that was interesting. Like Andre the Giant. Honestly, when I watched that movie, I swear to God, I needed subtitles.
Yeah, he's hard to understand. But he actually, the longer you watch the movie, he gets a little bit understand. I don't know if you acclimate to it a little bit, because towards the end of the movie, he's a little bit easier to understand. But at the beginning, you're like, what the hell did that guy just say?
Well, that's one thing, right? Because in one of the facts or whatever, it said when he went up to do the reading, the director couldn't understand a word he was saying, but he was saying how perfect he was for the part. So the way he actually like practiced his lines was that the director would tape himself saying the lines, and that is how he would like listen to it and then say it, right?
Wow.
And so he would get the wording down, and so it wasn't just a conventional reading off the page kind of thing.
Well, I mean, like that's like little stories like that which make this, I would argue it's a cult classic, and it makes this cult classic an even more, beloved movie. Like, I mean, you watch it again, you're like, holy crap, those special effects sucked. Like, when the big giant rat comes out, and you're like, dude, it's a guy wearing a fursuit. I swear to God. Or, like, when he's doing the sword battle with the Dread Pirate Roberts is doing the sword fight against Inigo Montoya, and then it's like there's suddenly like parallel bars where you can do the flips and stuff, and you're like, really, that's kind of ghetto. Or
Yeah, but you know what? It's the same thing because, like, for me, the very first Terminator movie, like, because I saw it when I was so young, I love that movie. I went back and watched it like 2 years ago, and I was, that part at the end where he's
Professor.
crawling through that press.
Yep.
Like, it's so herky jerky. I was like, I started laughing. I was like, how the hell did I watch this and actually think that that was cool? But it's the same thing at that time. It's like watching Superman with Christopher Reeves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
all right. So they tried to be funny in The Princess Bride. I think the death scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's hilarious is the best death scene out of all of them is actually that killer rat or whatever. Like, he actually takes a little while to die, but when
The Six-Fingered Man.
yeah, or when the little the brains behind the was
Vizini.
it Vizini, yeah. When he dies, he just keels over. He just dies. It's like, I'm done. I think that they did it on purpose to be funny.
Mhm.
But if they didn't do it to be funny, they succeeded in being funny, because there was just really terrible acting in some of those things.
Well,
I think, like I said, they did it on
But
purpose.
that's the thing. Like that's what I liked about it when I was like, watching it again. It's like there's jokes there that are like for kids. It's like ha ha ha, and there's jokes where it's like, man, I wouldn't have got that when I was a kid. Like, when she's about to kill herself at the end of the movie because she's thinking that she's married to this poor guy, and he's sitting on the bed and he's like, was it breasts are a terrible thing to waste?
Yeah.
Like I was like, did I remember that at all? Like, it was weird. Like, I was like, did they actually say that?
Or, I mean, you probably went, or like when Andre the Giant finds the horses at the end, he was like, "Oh, you finally did something right." I was like, "I'll try not to let it go to my head." Yeah,
Yeah.
some good stuff. There were some good lines. I'm not like I said. I don't know. So, what was your rating on this, Vince? You didn't give us one.
I can give it a solid 7.
7 out of 10. All right.
No, honestly, it's a fun movie. I actually look forward to when my youngest daughter wants to watch mommy's favorite movie. Like I'll pull it out, and it's a movie that I can explain a whole bunch of things like she loves him, he loves her, and vengeance is going to be good. Good. Always have revenge. If I die, you have to find my killer. Like that kind of deal. I want to make that train right.
What's your daughter's full name, Vince? Like, and just say that name. Don't actually say it online. You don't want to identity theft or whatever. Mom, I am this. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah. Or she'll be like, "Here's the extra $50 I told you. 50% up or 50% after."
Well, I mean, when Indigo Montoya finally gets finished, we're like, offer me money and offer me everything available, and then he just kills him anyways. That was actually a pretty good scene. All right, let's moving on to the section. I don't know about you guys. What did you do this week that was good? Fun, entertaining, that didn't have anything to do with work. Vince?
I didn't.
Poor man works his ass off. It's just really sad. You're in like university. You're supposed to be partying. Oh wait, that's the students.
Yeah, that's stuff at work, which is fun, but I can't say it on air because we're being recorded. But that was stuff I did for fun, and sometimes it just feels good to end things.
Actually, coming up. We're only what? So E3 is in June. What's the other big game?
Well, the
it starts with a G. I don't know. Anyways, we're only because that's in May, so that's only a couple months away. So we're coming up on game season. It's gonna be great. Gonna be a lot of crappy games coming out.
You're not talking about GDC, are you?
Yeah, I think that might be it. They did, but last year they did like mostly mobile games or something. It was really bad. All right, Ricky. Bail us out here, bro. You had to have done something fun this week.
Oh yeah, so for me, Marvel comics that I loved reading this week, all new Wolverine. That was really good.
You live?
What? No. That's why I said
live?
all new Wolverine. You got to read it to see. It's X-23.
Oh.
Become the all new Wolverine. That's really good though. It's really good. The new Silk, that started a new volume, so that's really good. Spider-Gwen, that's really good. On the DC side, Bizarro, really loved that one.
Kidding me, Bizarro?
Yeah, no, it's really funny. Like the way they're doing it, it's just really lighthearted though, right? But it's a fun read. Superman, Wonder Woman. That's really good. Love that. Been reading that.
Is that the one where they're married or they're?
No. It's the one where he's lost his powers, and so I think their boyfriend, like she's his woman, but they're searching to find like who took his powers and get them back. Of course, it involves Vandal Savage, who I completely fucking hate. I hate that character so much.
Just because he's a mole?
No, just like, well, it comes in with the TV show, which I was just about to mention. So love The Flash. That TV show is the bomb. Also love the what's it called? Legends of Tomorrow. Really like it. And he's like a major part of that, and I fucking hate the character, and now they're carrying the same storyline into the comics. Just makes me hate him that much more.
Why do you hate him?
The thing is, like, usually like I hate bad guys, right? But I mean, they're bad guys, so you hate them. Like, Doctor Doom, Red Skull, whatever. But this dude, like from the TV show, he's just fucking awful, man. Like,
Like, what is it? Just acting, or is it just
no,
like?
no, no, like the shit he does, like the character, right? I mean, because I'm not a big DC guy, right? So maybe it's just like I never knew, so I'm just getting introduced to it. But I mean, like, okay, so he kills Hawkman and Hawkgirl every time he sees them. He's like basically omnipotent because he never dies. In the TV show, he just keeps coming back because he's building like this plan to get rid of all the superheroes so he can rule the world and burn it to the ground. In the comics, he's taking away Superman's powers, but it's like the thing is he always operates in the shadows, right? Like bad guys like Darkseid and Thanos and like they operate in the shadows, but at some point the good guys fight against them. This dude just like fuck, man. He just like his whole plan. He uses other people to execute everything.
So
So
he's a
like when
good
you,
bad guy.
huh?
He's a really good
Yeah,
bad
I
guy.
just hate him. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like it's like it drives you, but fuck, I hate him. But yeah,
Okay.
that's so yeah.
All right. So
TV shows and
uh,
comics, those are.
mine wasn't nearly as interesting as that. I think I'm repeating on myself here, but I'm actually rereading a book. It's called In Retrospect. It was written by Robert S. McNamara. He was the Secretary of Defense under Kennedy and Johnson during Vietnam.
Hmm.
They actually made a documentary about it. It's called Fog of War. Very, very good. If you're into that era of it really kind of pinpoints the United States isn't very good at war anymore, kind of thing. Because like we helped win World War II, and the only really reason we ended up ending that is because we decided to nuke Japan. And after that, we went into Korea. We're still there. We went to Vietnam. We came home with our tail between our legs. And then 90s. I mean, we kind of saved Kuwait or whatever. But we ended up having to go back. 13 years later, and we're still in Iraq. So I mean, basically it all kind of he pinpoint in this book. It's in retrospect. It's very interesting because he talks about all the mistakes they made in Vietnam that kind of are precursors to some of the things that are going on now. It's something I've read before. I read it first time in I think my sophomore year in college, but I just recently picked it back up. It's really, really good. It's really well written. It kind of goes through. It starts off with as kind of a autobiography, but it very much focuses on his experiences as the Secretary of Defense and the mistakes they made. Because they were really losing Vietnam even before Kennedy was assassinated, and then Johnson kind of doubled down
Yeah.
in Vietnam, and then it didn't really until Nixon came in and decided, we're just gonna get the fuck out of here. We're just dying in droves, and we can't fight in this jungle anymore, so we're just leaving.
I never understood why the Kennedy administration was so adamant about staying in Vietnam, despite the American population sentiment at that point in time. Like, I understand Nixon's desire to get out of it because that's a pretty much Republican thing in that case, because it's dumping funds into other third world countries. But the Kennedy group, I don't understand why they were so adamant about staying. Can you tell me about that for a second? Like, I'm just curious.
Right. So the way he describes it in the book is so the reason why they were there in the first place is because they were kind of tricked into starting the war in the first place because of the whole. There's like a bay there. I can't remember what the name of the water is. They're right off the west coast or whatever. But they thought it was a torpedo or whatever, and it wasn't actually a torpedo, and that's actually ended up getting them into the war in the first place. But once they were there, he talks about how it's kind of an American image. Once we go in, we want to finish what we started. It was the same. It was the same kind of reluctance they had to get into World War II. I mean, we wanted absolutely nothing to do with World War II until they bombed Pearl Harbor.
That's right.
And then once we got in, we were in, and we were in it to stay until the war was over. And that's he focuses on that as something that still pervades the American, I don't know, identity today. Is that once we get into some kind of war skirmish, we're in it until the end, even though we're not any good at it anymore. We just tend to stay there forever. Anyways, that's what I'm reading. It's actually a pretty good book. Anyway, so next week is my turn for movie. We're going to do Runaway Jury. It's based on a John Grisham book. It's a very star-studded cast. It has John Cusack, Dustin Hoffman, Gene Hackman, Rachel Weisz, I think is her name.
Yep.
Anyways, it's a really good. It's a decent movie, but it has one of the best scenes in any movie I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, I don't know, maybe a 3-minute scene in that movie that it's just fantastic. And I'll be interested to see if you guys can pinpoint what scene I'm talking about next week when we talk about that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, the podcast is at Untitled Podcast. Ricky's Ricky_Williams1. Vince's VWHUY. He's actually the person who actually does Twitter more than anybody else, which is surprising because he's the newest at it. I'm at MTW. I tweet about once, maybe 3 times a week. And they're usually sterling pieces of shit. Really bad. I mean, I just tweet random nothing. Anyways, if you want to follow us on Facebook, you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Untitled Show. We are available on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/The Untitled-Show. And you can email us at the really crappy email that I set up and never check. The insert name here show at gmail.com is the email address. Next week, Runaway Jury. We will see you then.
Yeah.
Take care.